Hey, so today I want to talk about this particular arena defense team. It's from Lattamer, and the reason I want to talk about it is you're going to see that Tycho is able to gain 100 mana from the first turn of battle, and that is by having Strybog maxed and 4 charge pieces of gear, so that's 2 sets of charge gear on Tycho. And I'm bringing a team that doesn't have anything to kind of protect against this. We're just gonna see how it goes. I fought this a couple of times and I want to talk you through every time. I want to stop here because you see that actually 4 heroes have resisted the stun. This is a freak stroke of luck. The chances of doing this at the accuracy that Tycho likely has and the res that I have is less than 0.5%. So this is definitely a case of me lucking out. It shouldn't be this way. But so for the purposes of this video, this is what it's gonna look like if your heroes have a lot of res. So I'm basically able to match tiles. First of all for Zarkon just now, but I'm also matching a bunch of tiles for Sigil as well. In fact, I'm pretty lucky to get a bunch of blue tiles at the moment. So what I'm doing here is I'm checking Inula's mana gain and I'm trying to see how many tiles she needs. So I probably could have fired off Sigil and then let Tycho go as well. Protecting Zarkon because I know he's a little bit squishy for me. Lining up the purples and the reds down the middle there. Getting another couple of other red combos to try to take the tiles away from Claws because it's him who's going to take the last turn, and I also want to clear the board. Very lucky here that Mrs. Claus hasn't managed to go off. And the battle is basically over. It's basically what happens if everything goes your way. Bear in mind, again, this team doesn't have anything special to account for Tycho going off in the first turn. I don't have anything to have immunity from the start of the battle. I don't have a quick spell shield. Nothing. This is less than 0.5% chance on my side. So that was the first one. Almost looks easy. I'm going again with the same team. Tycho's firing again. And you see this time I've got stun on 3 heroes, which is still pretty lucky. It's not stun on everyone, although it doesn't really make a difference because the maximum is of course 2 turns. So actually what I've seen is that some people have started putting immunity on their fastest 2 heroes. Can feasibly see that it might also be their fastest 3 heroes, just to get around this. I would say that with this team though, the killer is having both Mrs. Claus and Tycho, and having 2 types of crowd control, both the freeze, which you see now, and the stun is really powerful. Claus here is a very strong hitter, and you can see that I'm just not really able to do anything because I've got both freeze and potential to do stun and damage. At this point I have lost, but I think I put it on auto now, just to kind of just let the battle go so we can watch and understand a little bit better what's actually going on here, how the defense team works, and how kind of the flow of the battle goes. I think this is quite useful sometimes if you know you've lost without having actually lost, but you want to understand how the team works, how the synergy works. Just let it run and watch, see if you can learn something. So that was the second battle. I'm gonna go in again, the third one, with Najar this time for immunity. So we see that the first round of stuns is kind of circumvented, but the board plainly sucks. I have a bunch of greens that I can't do anything with. So I'm matching purples because I want to try to get Tycho to go off. But the problem is that I forgot, because he was hit by the other Tycho on the first turn, he's not at 100 HP anymore. So he couldn't put stun. So that is the moment when I figured I'd messed up and this is all going to go terribly wrong. So you're going to see again Mrs. Claus putting that 1 turn of freeze, and the fact is that I only have 1 turn or 2 turns between their claws and their aurora, and that's really annoying. If it was 1 turn, the freeze is even worse, but since they're all dying, it kind of doesn't really matter anyway. Again, you just see this team going. I'm not even getting a chance to do anything. This is just like a freeze and stun lock. That was number 3. So we go to number 4. And this time I'm going for a slightly different team. No more Tycho, because he won't be at 100 HP. Kept the Najar, kept Inula, brought Strybog just to get a little bit more mana gain from the get-go, even though my board right now is terrible, as you can see. There's no blues on it at all. And brought Freya for a little bit of stun. This is plainly just a terrible board, because all I can do is match defensively. I want to match away purples for Tycho, I want to match away reds for the clauses, but in terms of my own heroes, I have Strybog and Inula going next. They're not going to benefit from purple and red. Can do the blue match and I get a little bit out of it, but it's not fantastic. So what I'm doing now is I'm trying to put as many statuses as possible in the hopes that Mrs. Claus, if she goes off, is not going to take off anything too important. The immunity is going to run out, so that is a big disadvantage. I'm trying to get rid of the reds, even though it didn't fully go to plan. So you see Mrs. Claus charging. Very lucky that Najar didn't have more slots, so he couldn't be affected by freeze. Again, terrible board. Full of greens. Yellows are not really helping because Sigil has freeze and she can't gain mana. Just need to clear this board. I'm setting up combos on from the purple and then it's cascading down. So finally I get some blues. And I've noticed that Claus seems a little bit squishy, so that's why the crosshairs are on him now. Trying to match blues and yellows. Reds because I need to replenish Najar. So one threat is down, that's very good. Now I have both Inula and Freya, so I have a little bit more breathing room. I don't necessarily need to match more yellows because Sigil is going to charge anyway. With Inula active, this one is quite straightforward because there's no spell shield or anything on the defense side to prevent crowd control being landed on them. this point, the situation is pretty much under control. Just need to be careful not to wake people up and to keep the crowd control going. Gonna try to get rid of Tycho and then tile away Mrs. Claus. So at this point, I think it's pretty clear we can just do away with them in terms of tiles. I think that basically reflecting on this defense team overall, I think it's a very interesting concept, and I'm sure this is not going to be the only team which has crowd control straight out the gate. And I think this does make immunity more important. I think Najjar is going to be really important now. The other hero that can do immunity at the start of the wave is Dobrinka. I think it's quite interesting because with a lot of purple heroes being boosted recently, it hasn't been as big of a increase in purple heroes as I was really expecting. There was a bit of a Helica moment earlier, but with Najjar and Dobrinka being really important for that immunity, we might have a bit of a red meta. I don't know. Or another way to counter it would be immunity sets on some of the heroes that go first in your team. Otherwise, of course, there could be resistance, though it can be tricky to build high resistance depending on what the build of certain heroes are in the defense team. Certainly Tycho gets a lot of accuracy from his passive. That is very hard to get around. But if there is another crowd control, so maybe someone like Inula giving sleep, or Mrs. Claus, Alias, or Proden giving freeze, could be other heroes as well, of course. But the AoE crowd control is what I'm really getting at. Really depends on their build and what their accuracy is. It's very unlikely that you'll be as lucky as I was in my first battle. Again, less than a 0.5% chance. So definitely an interesting direction for the meta to go in, and this is something that I think everyone should be aware of when they see a team with Strybog and a crowd control option or multiple crowd control options. So I think that's it for now in terms of what I think about it, and would love to hear your thoughts. What are your reflections, and how would you counter such a team? Until then, thank you so much for watching, and hope you enjoyed, and see you in the next one. Bye.